Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name's Kat Onder, and I'm the VP Publisher of Children's Books here at Sourcebooks. I've come to Sourcebooks with 20 years of experience in children's publishing, and many of you may know me from my days as SVP and publisher at Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. While I was there, I got to oversee the growth of the Little Blue Truck series and had the honor of working with award-winning authors like Kwame Alexander and Tracy Chee. Since Sourcebooks' inaugural children's title in 2005, our children's publishing has grown exponentially. I've long admired Sourcebooks' innovative, entrepreneurial, and agile approach to publishing. And in the kids space, this has led to success after success. So I'm the lucky one today that gets to introduce you to our phenomenal authors. But first, I have the privilege of introducing you to Sourcebooks publisher and CEO, Dominique Raka. Dominique founded Sourcebooks from her home in 1987. And from those scrappy roots at her kitchen table, she has led Sourcebooks to become the largest woman-owned publisher in the country. Dominique now leads a small army of book-loving Sourcebookers, and we are all guided by the mission that books change lives. She is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. She has been widely recognized as a leading innovator in book publishing and has won every innovation award in the industry. And in 2016, she was named Publishers Weekly Person of the Year. But most importantly, Dominique is an expansive reader. When I first met her, I was so impressed by the breadth of books that she loves and her depth of knowledge in the space. From the very youngest board books through young adults and beyond, I can tell you that Dominique devours books and is passionate about connecting authors and illustrators to readers. The wide variety of authors that we publish and the authors who are here today reflect Dominique's book-loving spirit. So Dominique, I pass the mic over to you.
Wow, thank you, Kat. That's so wonderful. And hello, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start off by saying how thankful I am that I have a chance to talk to all of you. I think we can all agree that we really miss seeing each other in person, but the great joy of Zoom is that we can all connect in a much bigger way. Whether you're on the call live or you're watching the recording on YouTube after the fact, welcome, and thank you for listening to our extraordinary authors. As many of you know, I started Sourcebooks 34 years ago in a bedroom in my home in Naperville, Illinois. What many of you won't know is that I, for years, said I would never publish children's books. Like, you need to know, like, that was what I said to people. And my husband is chortling in the background laughing. But I have an extraordinary team of entrepreneurs at Sourcebooks, and we did publish a children's book, and that book was Poetry Speaks to Children, and it hit the New York Times bestsellers list. And then, of course, booksellers and librarians started asking us, what are you doing next? So it's safe to say that you, the booksellers and librarians who are here with us today, are the reason why we have a children's and YA imprints, the many children's and YA imprints that you supported for so many years, and we're so extraordinarily grateful for that. I also want to take a moment to talk about something that's probably weighing on a lot of us right now. We really can't talk about children's and YA titles in this country without mentioning the devastating book banning that we're seeing happen across the country. It's terrifying to watch. And it's especially hard for our authors and our librarian and educator friends, many of whom are on the call right now, who are trying to navigate this very difficult set of situations. I want to be sure and say clearly and unequivocally that Sourcebooks stands behind banned books. We stand behind voices that need to be heard. We stand behind our authors, behind our educators, behind our librarians who are fighting censorship, and we stand behind the readers who need these stories, because in the end, that's who we are all fighting for. At Sourcebooks, we believe that books change lives. Every employee at this company and in this family believes that. We actually had a company meeting in which we talked for over an hour about how we can be more involved and help in new ways. And you're going to see new initiatives coming from us on this front. We started small. We did banned book Valentine's Day cards in case you got them, and we're going to continue to grow in the space. We want to make sure that anyone out there who is fighting understands that they are not alone. We've all learned throughout the past 2 years that connections are essential. And I think we can all agree that books are incredible bridges that create connections. And the really positive news is that more people are reading than ever before. I'm thrilled that you're about to meet some amazing authors doing extraordinary work when it comes to creating connections, from timely books to help you understand sexuality to inclusive picture books that spread a message of hope and can create both connection and empathy, to horror and fantasy YA novels that entertain and include some important messages. These books and stories come from a wide variety of experiences and voices. I cannot begin to tell you how proud I am to be their publisher. I think of everyone who comes into the Sourcebooks publishing house as part of my family, and I'm lucky that we've been able to create this work and joy together. So thank you all for joining us here today. And Kat, can you introduce our first author? Thank you. Kat, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Dominique. Before I jump into our author presentations, which I'm very excited about, I just want to make sure to mention that most of our books presented today are going to be available on Edelweiss and NetGalley. So definitely we hope that you will check them out. So first up, I am thrilled to introduce the Alphabet Rockers to you. The Alphabet Rockers make music that makes change and creates brave spaces for children and families to stand up to hate and be their courageous, beautiful selves. Led by Caitlin Mcgaw, she, her, and Tommy Shepard, he, him, they, Alphabet Rockers gets young people to talk about self-love and justice while living it. Their Grammy-nominated albums, multimedia, and curricula empower youth to embody change, advocate for others, and imagine a world that they can both be seen in and thrive in. Alphabet Rockers are based in Oakland, California, on the unceded land of the Choqueño Ohlone people. Tommy and Caitlin, will you please tell us about yourselves and You Are Not Alone?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. What up, y'all? How's
Thanks,
everyone?
Kat.
Hope everyone's good. We are Alphabet Rockers. We are 3-time Grammy nominees, authors, yes, and parents. And like Kat was saying, we make music and media that makes change.
And we're so excited to share with you You Are Not Alone, which we have had the delight of sharing with kids, libraries, schools over the last month since it was published. My name's Caitlin Mcgaw. I use she, her as my pronouns, and I am the proud parent of 2 young readers, aged 2 and 5, who are of Indian and Scottish heritage when I'm raising them with my husband, Adi, here in Oakland.
Nice. And I'm Tommy Solati Shepard, he, him, they. I am a proud father of a 14-year-old boy who actually was one of the Alphabet Rocker youth. And I live in Alameda, California with my wife, Anna. Happy to be here.
Yes, and we start with sharing a little bit about these identities and these frameworks because this is our worldview, and we co-wrote this book in 2021 for you right here. And it's important to think about how do you bring your worldviews together, and that is your business, right? You are bringing your communities together in this way and offering resources to them. And we shared that this because our community has the imagination and power to create a new worldview for the world we want to live in. And You Are Not Alone, you're going to hear and experience this conversation. Let me just show just a few pictures of Ashley Evans' work, which is just gorgeous. Just
stunning.
Lifting up young voices and ideas for how we can connect. Why don't you tell a little more?
Yeah, sure. In this book, you're going to experience the kind of the ways to engage with this conversation, the ways to enter into it if you're not a part of it already, as well as feeling like you're not alone if you're already in this part of the conversation. And it's really part of what we do, you know. It's part of our practices, it's part of our worldviews. And in order to affect real change, you kind of have to see people, especially young people, actually engaging in these things. That makes you want to understand it a little bit more. And the pictures in these books do that as well as the words. You know, you can see bias on someone's face. You can see loneliness on someone's face. You can see confidence on someone's face. You know, that's why this book is very special.
We've been in this business of making these kind of radical, courageous conversations happen for children and families and educators. And what we're so excited about sharing You Are Not Alone with is that, you know, the book will shift and change depending on who's reading, because the connection between a reader, a listener, and the characters on the page, they each are going to offer something different. Specifically, if we talk about what has come up recently in schools, we share a lot about a child whose name is being mispronounced. Now, that might be the parent's experience. And so they get to have a child say, I understand what you grew up with. Or it might be the educator saying, can you see me? That's me, even though it's a child's voice coming through.
And personally, for me, I mean, I wrote the thing with this person, and it actually really inspires me because my name, not the Tommy or the Shepherd part, gets mispronounced so much. And I always wonder why, like, folks just don't ask how to pronounce it, and they just, you know, say how they want to say it. And then I say it, the Solati part, and it really made me think about all of that. Even being an advocate for kids like that in school, I never really saw my connection until I read it back, you know. So,
and that's like part of the business of Alphabet Rockers' work. And what we're excited to share with you is that we believe that every truth in our communities is connected. So it's not just about one part of the story, it's about all of our stories. And we really hope that our book and the accompanying experiences that we bring to communities, from dance videos, music videos, and learning guides, they give kids an opportunity to say, okay, well, I'm like that kid, but here's how I would say it. And so we're excited to bring this to you, share it with your communities, and hear what they have to say. But before we go, we do want to sing a little something to you. So get ready to move with us.
All you got to do is repeat after us. So, if you feel it in your heart and you're ready to take part, say, I'm not alone.
I'm not alone.
If you feel it in your soul and you're ready to roll, say, you're not alone.
You're not alone.
If you feel it in your gut and ready to step up, say, we're not alone.
We're not alone.
We're not alone.
We're not alone.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. You are not alone. Thank you. It's an honor to be a part of folks who are truly doing the work to be accomplices and stand in solidarity with our communities who need this the most.
Yes,
Thank
be
you.
easy.
Thank you so much, Tommy and Caitlin. I got my groove on. Okay, so you're going to notice a theme from us on the picture book end this afternoon. We've got another powerful writing duo. Ali Commanda is an award-winning filmmaker and social entrepreneur from Sierra Leone, West Africa. He runs Biko Studios, a cross-cultural film production company, and is the president of Salone Rising, a not-for-profit organization that provides microfinancing and mentoring and resources to small business owners in rural Sierra Leone. Ali met George Redmond in college. George Redmond currently works in the Buncombe County District Attorney's Office as an assistant district attorney and as an adjunct professor in South College's legal department. Ali and George, will you tell us about Black Boy and Black Boy?
Mute myself. All right.
What's
First
up,
of all, we got a
everybody?
big energy. What's up, everybody? We are super excited. Greetings from Sierra Leone, West Africa. My name is Ali.
My name is George Redmond, and we are the first-time authors of Black Boy. Let me first just start off and say thank you to Sourcebooks. Let me start off and say thank you to the librarians and the educators that are also on this call. We appreciate and respect all that you do. I'm gonna say it's just gonna be a little bit hard following Alphabet Rockers,
Yeah.
but we'll try our best. So we're super thrilled to be able to share this book with you about self-esteem for Black boys. And so what this book draws on the history of the role models and the leaders that came before us. And so there's a nod to Eric Carle's Brown Bear book that kind of gave us the inspiration for this. And so what inspired us was a time where we were witnessing the murder of George Floyd. And at that time, I had started to wonder, what is it that Black boys see? And so I quickly was doing some rhyme schemes with Brown Bear, and it got kind of dark. You know, they see police brutality, and they saw this other sorts of crimes. And so my concern was, where are we going with this? And luckily, Ali was able to reel us all in as we were coming together to figure out what it is that we may want Black boys to see. And the thought was for them to see hope, and that they can see change, something that would inspire them to succeed and be successful in life. And so essentially what led out of that was the creation of this book. And so with my experiences as a juvenile court prosecutor, and I would see kids go from school to prison in a pipeline, and my experience as a teacher before going to law school, I was a Title I teacher. And so I understand the importance of reading and understand the proficiency of reading skills and how they sort of lack in sort of the Black community. So the thought was how can we give some sort of connection to young Black boys? And so the thought was if we can do something similar to Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures is one of my favorite books and favorite movies that I've seen, and what that acknowledgement of the Black females in that book and in that movie, what that's done for young Black girls, and what they've aspired to be able to do with the space program. And Ali and I thought about maybe we can do the same thing for young Black boys, because as I was a teacher, some of the questions that I would ask some of the kids in the room was, what is it you want to become? Where do you see yourself? And the majority of the answers that I saw were, I want to be a baller, I want to be a rapper. And as much as I was happy to know that there were goals that they had, I was troubled by the limit that they put themselves with only 2 opportunities. And so I felt that there was a disconnect from all the leaders that we've had in our society, and the various types of success stories that we have, to be able to transcend upon them the ability to be able to inspire change. And so hopefully the goal is to broaden horizons, expand the possibilities of success for the Black boys by recognizing and honoring a diverse list of Black leaders, not just athletes and entertainers, but hopefully they will become, when we ask that question after Black boys released, they will say doctor, they will say astronaut, they will say dancer, they will say President of the United States. And so that's the kind of conversation we'd love to be able to have, especially with the Black boys in the communities all around this country and around the world. So the thought is perhaps if Black boys knew their past, that they would be able to shape and control their future. And so hopefully with that, I'll leave it to Ali as to why we, the audience that we're looking for.
Man, I have nothing else to share. No, man, well said, my brother, well said. Actually, we do have a slide that we would like to share with you all on screen, please. There we go. This is one of our favorite. This is one of our favorite images. You know, in looking at that, you know, black boy, what do you see? I see so many faces that look like me. You know, representation matters, especially in works that are for kids. You know, there's something powerful. There's something aspirational. There's something inspirational for a kid to see their likeness in a book. You know, when George and I were growing up, we really didn't have a lot of books or kids' literature that reflected our lives, that celebrated our existence. And so here we are today as Black fathers, very proud to have 2 amazing young sons. And we decided that we needed to be intentional in creating something for our sons and ultimately Black boys everywhere that would inspire them to have a sense of identity that they would be proud of, that would help them grow in confidence, you know, to recognize and know that their life matters. We wanted to make sure that no matter what spaces our boys found themselves in, that they would never feel less than anyone, ever. And that identity is rooted in Black history. So we see this book as a fun introduction into Black history for kids. There's so much that many of us don't know about Black history, myself included. And there's just so much untapped knowledge and a canon of like influential people in Black history that we don't know about. Either we haven't learned about it, or we weren't taught, or haven't actually gone out to self-discover it, But with that wealth of knowledge that's out there, we think that this can be a fun way to introduce kids, not just Black boys, but kids in general, to that rich history. Now, when we talk of Black history, I think all of us can agree that normally we're referencing maybe 3 familiar names, and all of us in here, I guarantee you right now, without mentioning anybody's names, would know one in particular that we all, sort of discuss. So we also wanted to be intentional about selecting certain people within Black history that we believe young kids don't know of. And as George said, to help us broaden that horizon. So with the book's simple structure, we feel that we can connect the reader by placing them in the shoes of history of these influential and amazing people, and encourage them, to boldly go into life and into their own journey and to make a difference. We have one more slide that we would like to share with you, please. This one. This is, again, another one of our favorites, done by the masterful and amazing Ken Daly. He just brought this book to life. But this is such a powerful shot that we just fell in love with. As we send our young ones off into this ever-changing world, we want them to know that they stand on the shoulders of giants. Every single one of us here stands on the shoulders of giants. So in particular, for what we are doing, we want Black boys everywhere to know that they stand on the shoulders of giants who have lived amazing lives, who have done incredible things. And we hope that we can get them to embrace their history, to celebrate that history. We want to inspire them to be proud of their past, as they look forward to their limitless future. Again, we are just truly excited. And I would close off with just saying we want to say thanks to all of you for listening in. We should tip our hats, even though we don't have hats on. George, you got to take that hat, covering that bald head of yours. We tip our hats to those of you who are on here, because many of you listening on here are gatekeepers to the literature for so many of us in society. Literature that you are intentional about selecting, literature that you are intentional about putting on your shelves, putting in your bookstores, sharing, and publishing. You do something that gives the opportunity to connect with readers all over this globe and to possibly change their lives. That's something amazing, to say the least. I mean, it's just awesome. And for that, from the bottom of our hearts, we just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. Deuces, Georgie.
Oh, I know that we feel so lucky. So there is a question in the chat. How did you guys meet?
Oh, that's a good one. I will start off because I'm older. He's the young one. He's got to give me respect. No, we met in Chapel Hill at University of North Carolina, and George was this famous soccer player, and he basically had this aura around him. And so when we got to college, I had played soccer, but not at his level. And we had heard of this name of this guy called, we thought it was Jorge because his name starts with a J. So, we showed up to college trying to figure out who is this Hispanic dude that, basically is running soccer. And I show up and here was my Black brother. And I was like, oh man, dude, this is you. And we just hit it off, became roommates. We call ourselves brothers from another mother. And it's just been a blessing and a beautiful journey in life ever since. Our families are well connected. So we are just very thankful. Yeah. But George, anything you would change to that, or is that it?
No, I think you said it all, Ali.
All right.
Thanks so much to you both. Truly inspirational. Thank you. I have one more powerful writing duo for everyone today. Miri Whitehill is the founder of the award-winning nonprofit Miri's List, which assists families resettling as refugees in America. She's a community activist with 10 years of experience in digital marketing and leads discussions about migration at libraries and schools in Los Angeles. Jennifer Jackson has always been a storyteller. She began her career in theater as a writer, director, and choreographer before transitioning to the page with her first picture book, The Punky Doos Take the Stage. Now she's thrilled to be sharing Our World as a Family, a story that's very close to her heart. Miri and Jennifer, will you please tell us about your book?
Hi. So nice to
Hello.
see you all today. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Miri.
So this is our book. It is called Our World as a Family. And this is a book that was developed over the last 6 years since I started the organization Miri's List. We provide a 12-month program for families who are resettling in the United States as refugees. Typically, our engagements with families begin in the months after they arrive. And usually we're helping families who are coming from places like Afghanistan, Syria, lots of little kids, lots of older folks, grandmas and grandpas coming along. And obviously the challenges that newcomers face are very great. And I got into this work on accident, like so many things in life. It was not planned. I met a family who had just moved to Los Angeles from Syria. At a time that I was taking a break from my job, which was in advertising, to be home with my children. At the time, I had a newborn and a toddler. Meeting this family in their home, I was able to look around the room and see that their apartment was not set up to be functional, safe, and comfortable for their family. And I wanted to help. I did not start out with this plan to start a nonprofit. It was really, the idea was to help one family get their apartment set up. And ultimately I learned that what I saw in that family's apartment that day was actually representative of what it looks like for families who are coming through the federal admissions program. Part of this work was bringing my children with me to meet a lot of families. They were meeting people from all over the world, meeting kids who they didn't share languages with, but they would kind of look at each other in the eye and then just chase each other around the yard or the apartment. And, you know, I wanted to be able to explain to my children, you know, and answer their questions about their new friends in a way that was honest and also age appropriate, in a way that they could feel empowered to help without feeling too worried about their new friends, you know, when we come back to our house, which looks quite different than a lot of these families' homes when they're just starting out. So that is where the language in this book comes from. It is a tried and true method of starting a conversation with kids of really ages 2, 3, and up about why people move around the world as refugees and how we can help to make our classrooms and playgrounds more welcoming for all. And that is a little bit about the background. And Jennifer, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thank you.
Talk about the book.
All right, so I think Miri covered a lot of what inspired us to write the book. So I'll share how we met and started collaborating. We got to know each other through a parenting group that we were both added to, and we bonded over being mothers of small boys and wanting to do good in the world and wanting to make it a better place. And I was particularly moved by the work Miri's List was doing at the time, as she said, with Syrian refugees. One side of my family immigrated from Syria before I was born, so knowing how they were immeasurably helped by their community and their neighbors to make that transition, this just really moved me, her work and the work of the organization. And so we started playing with ideas of how we could put this into a book for kids and older people too, just anyone who wanted to share in these conversations. And there are a lot of books about welcoming everyone and sharing space. But I think one thing that makes this book different is that, as Miri said, it touches on why people might be leaving their homes and making homes in a new place. And that could be from climate change to war to issues like COVID. Moving has been hard on our kids for all kinds of reasons. And settling into their neighborhoods, we really rely on our communities to feel at home. And so it describes ways, very specific ways, simple things that families, neighbors, communities can do to welcome their new arrivals. Things like giving gifts, sharing new food, even learning each other's language, sharing a meal, and so that people feel less alone. And we really hope that in the end, that's what people feel when they read this book. And one of the absolute joys of this project has been the inside poster. When you take the flap off the cover, it's a poster of all these languages, so that you can learn just how to say hello, how to say I love you, how to say I'm here, which is one of the ways this all began. You can see on Miri's wall behind her, Anahuna, that's I'm here. And that's what we just hope to create for everyone, is that feeling that you're not alone. It's kind of the theme of these picture books. You are not alone. There are people who love you and want you to feel safe and important and loved in this world. So thank you for having us so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miri and Jennifer. Thank you, thank you. Okay, switching gears a little bit. Now we're moving on up to YA nonfiction, and we're going to welcome Juno Dawson, the author of actually one of our most banned books, This Book is Gay. Juno Dawson is a best-selling novelist, screenwriter, journalist, and a columnist for Attitude magazine. Her writing has appeared in Glamour, The Pool, Dazed, and The Guardian. She lives in Brighton, England, and she's part of the queer cabaret collective known as Club Silencio. And in 2014, Juno became a school role model for the charity Stonewall. Welcome, Juno. Will you tell us about your upcoming book, What's the Tea?
Can you hear me okay? No, yeah, hi. I'm sorry, I'm filming at the moment in London, so I'm coming to you from a really bad hotel where there is no way.
Hey, Juno, your audio is a little bit garbled, I think. Could you maybe try, I don't know if you have a different microphone, or maybe just try some troubleshooting.
Is that any better?
Yes, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm in a hotel room. As you can tell, this is not where I live. And I look like a witness in a true crime documentary. You can't even see my face. Hi, I'm here. I'm Juno Dawson. I'd like to start, if I may, by talking briefly about my last book, which is This Book is Gay, because while I am with American librarians and booksellers, I just want to say a massive heartfelt thank you for the support you've given to This Book is Gay. On the other side of the Atlantic, I'm dimly aware of the controversies and the attempts to censor or ban or challenge This Book is Gay. And it feels to have got worse. It's very strange. I think that the book was first challenged in 2015 by Sarah Palin's stomping ground in Alaska. But since then, in the last couple of years, there have been moments in Florida and Carolina and Georgia and all kinds of places. And obviously from the United Kingdom, there's nothing I can really do, but you have been doing it for me, and Sourcebooks have had my back as well. And so I know at times some of you have fought really hard. I've heard of librarians who've quit their jobs over This Book is Gay. And thank you. I like to think that this book is gay is helping young people, and you are helping those young people have access to that book. Like George said, you know, you're the gatekeepers, and you are out there getting these books into hands that really need them. And I know that This Book is Gay gets stolen all the time from school libraries and public libraries, and I think that's a real sign that there are young people out there who really need the book. Otherwise, I guess they wouldn't be stealing it. But I'm back, ban me again. And we have a new one. It's What's the Tea, which is the trans-specific sequel to This Book is Gay. Obviously, I wrote This Book is Gay really at the very, very start of my transition. I was just starting my transition when This Book is Gay was published. And 7 years later, I have a lot of things I would like to say about the trans experience. it felt right. And I think with this ever-growing lexicon around non-binary and gender fluid lives as well, it felt like the right time to expand on what I had started with This Book Is Gay. The book came about because I was furious. I don't know if any of you over there have much of an idea of what it's been like in the United Kingdom at the moment on rainy transphobia island, but things have gotten worse in the 7 years that I've been Juno. I think things have gotten actively worse over here. And my good friend, the author Patrick Ness, said there is nothing better for writing than spite. And when I was watching these headlines around trans kids in the UK and how, you know, kind of children are being brainwashed and there is a powerful trans cult coming for your children, you know, I'm not a politician, but I am a writer. And when you're really angry about something, I find it most helpful to just turn it into a book. And obviously, What's the Tea? I've slightly appropriated from the ball scene of the 80s, from Paris is Burning There, and it means what's the truth? And I guess What's the Tea was my way of tackling a lot of flagrant misinformation that's not just in the UK, that spreads all the way around the world and through the United States as well. So I was really, really delighted when Sourcebooks came on board with What's the Tea as well as This Book Is Gay. However, having learned from This Book Is Gay's challengedness, I was smarter this time around, and I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that there's nothing even vaguely spicy in What's the Tea. It does still tackle sex and relationships, it tackles identity, it tackles coming out to your friends and family, and those kind of prickly questions around identity and expressing oneself. But this time around, we were very, very mindful that we didn't want to put anything in the book that people could get cross about. There is nothing even vaguely controversial in this title. I'm going to show you the cover again because it's pretty. There's nothing in there to ban. And what's really, really interesting is if people do start challenging What's the Tea in the United States, it's purely transphobia. It's purely discomfort around the notion that some young people are trans and non-binary. And there will be people in America who find that wild. But for you as librarians and booksellers and educators, there's nothing controversial in this book. It really is just a collection of wisdom. I spoke to lots of trans people, some in America, some in the UK, and have really gathered all their experiences and just offered that kind of, I guess, big brother, big sister advice, which is what I wish I'd had when I was a teenager as well. It's beautifully illustrated by a non-binary artist. Sorry, that's my phone. I'm very professional. A non-binary artist called Sophia. So it's beautifully illustrated with black and white illustrations as well, if I can flick to one. But Sophia has even done a little comic strip in the middle about people who have facial hair. And it's not just men, lots of people have facial hair. It's warm, it's funny, it's wise, I hope. And then again, we've said it before and we'll say it again, representation really matters. There's lots of really positive trans and non-binary role models in the book as well. So once again, thank you for the hard line you've taken with This Book Is Gay. Because I can't be there, it means the absolute world that you've protected that book and protected the kids that need that book. And I hope that What's the Tea will be just as helpful as This Book Is Gay. I'm going to go to bed now because it's really late here, but enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much, Juno. We are so proud to be putting your book into readers' hands. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move now to YA fiction. Horror and history collide in Vincent Dorado's upcoming YA debut. Vincent Dorado is a non-binary Afro-Latin Bronx native. They ventured out to Pennsylvania and Ohio to get their bachelor's degree in biology and master's degree in bioethics. And they've had short stories published in Desert Rose Lit Mag and Faya magazine. Vincent, will you tell us about Burn Down, Rise Up?
Sure. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Fabulous. All right. So Burn Down, Rise Up. If you cannot see the poster in the background that I was able to put up literally yesterday, Here's also the book. Burn Down, Rise Up is it's set in the Bronx because I was born in the Bronx, and as a writer, I get to choose where my books are set. And I've always really loved horror. I love watching horror. I love reading horror. I really like to immerse myself in all the possibilities of horror. So when I decided, okay, I'm going to write a horror novel set in the Bronx, it kind of came to me immediately what to write about. And the subject is essentially what the 70s were like in the Bronx. It's also called the Decade of Fire, where lots of most of the decade was just burning buildings and just absolute chaos for various reasons. It's not just pinpoint on one reason, but for various reasons. And the Bronx has had to kind of struggle through it and eventually bring themselves out of it. Now, the actual book, because it's horror, it has more of a speculative element where the teens in this book, it's set in present day Bronx. They're noticing a lot of how people are going missing, and they're just wondering what to do about it when they find out that these people are being pulled into sort of an upside down of the Bronx that is set in the 70s. And so they go through the experience of, sorry, my cat is on my desk being a nuisance. They have to go through the experience of learning what the 70s was like and how the Bronx kind of had to rebuild itself. The lesson for this book, so what I really aside from oh, I'm in the Bronx and I love horror, aside from that being my primary reason for writing this, I also wanted to sort of have another lesson in there for teens, because I think it's very important for teens to know that yes, voting is all good and well. We did fight for the right to vote and everything. I understand why I feel like teens are constantly being pushed that when you're 18, you really should vote, and this will do wonders for the country. I think what this book really answers is what happens when voting isn't enough. What happens when you cannot rely on your politicians? What happens when the law is against you, when no one seems to care? And what the teens in this book find out, and what I hope a lot of young readers will find out, is that a lot of the answers can be found in your own community. So I grew up knowing a lot about community organizing because throughout my teens, I participated in a program called Activists Coming to Inform Our Neighborhood. And it was just a bunch of us teens literally learning about our neighborhood, our history in the Bronx, and how we can continue to kind of affect it. Not in just oh, we're going to go and vote or something, but we actually spoke to our neighbors and said hey, what is something that would help you right here, right now? And a lot of things would be oh, it would be great if we could have a garden. It would be great if we had more after school programs. And we literally had to help each other. There are lots of urban gardens now in the Bronx. There are lots of more childcare, programs that we had to start ourselves. So a lot of that is that is the core of the message for this book. So yeah, that's really all I can tell you about it. A lot of it is very speculative horror. It's supposed to be, engaging. It's supposed to be entertaining. But at the end of the day, the one message I really do hope that teens understand is that you cannot go wrong with community organizing. Sometimes the government will fail you. Sometimes politicians cannot help you. And because legally, things just can happen. Legally, the Bronx was let to rot and just be burned down in a fire for a whole decade. Legally, that's just how it is. Legality does not equal morality in this book. And so these teens have to figure out, okay, well, legally, we're just kind of left to our own devices. What can we do to help ourselves right here, right now? Yeah, so I don't know what else to tell you from there.
Thanks so much, Vincent. I have to say, incredible character building in your book, and the horror is scary. Really, really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so last but absolutely not least, we have Rachel Griffin. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. Rachel is Rachel's debut YA book, The Nature of Witches, actually also debuted on the New York Times bestseller list. Rachel lives just outside of Seattle with her husband and her dog, Doppler, And she became a certified weather spotter for the National Weather Service while she was doing her research for the nature of witches. She's got a great website. You can visit her online at rachelgriffinbooks.com. Rachel, will you tell us about your new book, Wilde Is the Witch?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. I say this a lot, but my parents always joke that I was the kid who was more excited to get my library card than I was to get my driver's license. So it's always such a joy to talk with librarians and booksellers and educators. So thank you so much for being here and having me. Wilde Is the Witch is my second novel, and I am so excited to be sharing it with you. It is another young adult contemporary fantasy standalone that has this enemies to lovers romance, and it is set in the lush atmospheric Pacific Northwest wilderness. It follows Iris Gray, who is a witch in hiding, and she writes a particularly mean curse for the boy she can't stand, who is Pike Alder. He is an intern at their family's wildlife refuge, and Iris creates this mean curse for him. And before she's able to dispel it, an owl swoops down from the trees, steals the curse, and flies away. And the curse becomes bound to the life of the owl. And if the owl dies, this curse will be unleashed on Pike and also on their home. So Iris is forced to trek through the unforgiving Pacific Northwest wilderness with Pike in search of this bird that could cost him his life. But he doesn't know the truth. And Iris has to decide how far she's willing to go to protect her secret. So that's Wilde Is the Witch. And this book was a real comfort for me to work on in a time that was very tumultuous with everything going on with COVID. It was a comforting place for me to spend time on. This book is set in the Pacific Northwest. I was born and raised here. I love it here. I have a deep soul connection to this place. And so I tried to make this book a very sensory experience. I want you to feel the mist on your skin. I want you to hear the wind whispering through the evergreens and to see the fog overhead. It's a magical place. And so I was just delighted to be able to set a book here. If The Nature of Witches was a love letter to the earth, then Wilde Is the Witch is not only a love letter to the Pacific Northwest, but also to the creatures that we are lucky enough to share our home with. And also recognizing that it's not just our home, it's their home as well. So I got to tie in a lot of things that really matter to me and that I care deeply about. Iris's journey is also one that's very important to me, and it hits home for me because she is someone who starts the book believing that there are things about her, namely that she is a witch, and that make her undeserving of love. And even though she loves magic and she loves who she is, the world has not seen her in that way. And she doesn't believe ultimately that she could ever show who she is to another person and be accepted. And so a lot of Iris's journey is being stuck in the wilderness with this boy who hates witches. And as their circumstances become more and more dire, Iris has to figure out if she ultimately is able to show that part of herself to another person, and not only share it, but trust that they will see her in the way that she wants to be seen, and trust that they will still deem her worthy of love. I know I definitely struggled with this as a kid, but I think a lot of people do. We worry about if we show those hidden parts of ourselves to others, if we show them those parts that maybe we're not as proud of to other people, that we will be judged and that we won't be loved, and that we will ultimately be rejected. And writing books with strong female protagonists who are also emotional and who are sensitive and who have these fears is really important to me. So that's a lot of Iris's journey is around vulnerability. And but it was also just wrapped in this perfect bouquet of atmospheric, moody, Pacific Northwest weather, perfect to read while listening to the Twilight soundtrack. And it's got, the Pacific Northwest version of There's Only One Bed, which is, of course, There's Only One Tent. So it was just a really, really comforting place for me to spend time in. And I hope that when you read it, it is a comfort for you as well. So thank you for having me and for all of the work that you do to get our stories into the hands of readers. It is truly incredible what you do. And I so appreciate being able to share another book with you.
Thanks so much, Rachel. It is truly a compelling read. It really is. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are all, if you can't tell, we're all very excited about these authors and their upcoming books and their published books. And we're really thrilled that we had the opportunity to share them with you today. Last reminder that the books we talked about are on Edelweiss and NetGalley. Please download them, read them. I think you'll fall in love with them the same way that we did here at Sourcebooks. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.